Today I continue my musing from the last podcast, and the topic is allowing our kids to fail. How important is it? How does it shape their future? How does it define their personality and really make them who they should be and who they are? And how much are we to blame if we were to stop them from failure? Because we all worry about our kids, we are all protective about our kids, and we all do as much as we can to ensure that they do well in what they do. But by doing that, are we actually handicapping them, or are we actually giving them weapons and tools that arm themselves for all the battles they have to fight successfully as adults? This podcast is all about my musings, about stuff we do with our kids, and it's of course not just my perspective, but the perspective of my kids. My daughter Mishka, who is at the time of recording this 16, my son Kahan at the time of recording this, who's 11, and of course my wife Aditi. So let's just jump right into it and let the musings begin. Everything should be amazing. Kids are sweet and adoring, but so confusing what to do. Just listen to Dad Musings. So we discussed extensively with my daughter Mishka, who's in the middle of her board exams, and the 10th board exams, especially in India, is a huge thing because this defines what you've done in your whole education from the time you were born right up to the 10th grade, because these marks are really, really important, deciding which university or college or junior college you get into. So she's going through a lot of stress. I just wanted to talk to her about her attitude of failure and how we've allowed her, but it got into actually quite a big counseling session. So if you want to genuinely hear the perspective of a 16-year-old and what she's going through, do visit the earlier podcast and to understand her raw point of view, right? We continue from there into allowing our kids to fail. What does it mean? It could be little things. Failure is not just about failing in an exam, but about doing a project and not doing well, about going up to sing on stage and not being selected, about wanting a lead role in a part of a play and not getting it, about standing for election in your student council and not making a dent or being voted for in class. All these things I have seen as a parent. My wife and I both have seen this and are cognizant of the fact that the child is reacting like he has lost all the money in the world and he's now going to be on the streets. So how do we make them understand, or how do we make them comfortable enough to embrace failure? We spoke about this with Mishka in the earlier podcast, where I think this insight actually hit me while I was talking to her. That word failure, if I wrote it on my wall, it's got such negative connotation. It's got such absolutely terrifying negative connotations. It looks like it's red. It's suicidal. It's got all that around it. How do we make that a good thing? We know the theory. I've read so many articles and we discussed this in the earlier podcast, where Elon Musk launches a rocket. It crashes after 30 seconds and the team celebrates, saying, yeah, you see it as failure, but we don't, because every time you fail, it's one more step closer to success. How do we get our kids to understand that it's one more step closer to success? But not trying something with the fear of failure is worse than actually doing something and failing. I'm not taking away the fact that we must give our best. We must be earnest. We must be sincere in what we do. And after we do that, when we look back at something that we probably have failed in, all right, now how can I do this differently? And how can I give it another twist so that the next time I approach this, it will be one step closer, if not an absolute success. It will be a one step. I am walking that path and I have taken a step closer to the destination I want to go to. So my younger one has auditioned, has stood on the council, he's succeeded in some places, he's not succeeded in some. Like we heard with Mishka in the earlier podcast, most of us tend to look at especially in these low moments of our life, tend to look at the glass as half empty, not half full. right? So he too has that tendency, which I think is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But how do we work on it? Or let's understand his point of view a little better. All right, so Kahan, you do a lot of things in school, in your life, which we are very fascinated by, and we love watching you do so many things. And perhaps the bad thing of all that is, especially me, I maybe interject and give you a lot of advice or a lot of perspective. If you're forming a band, if you're selecting a song,
Yeah.
right? And I do come in and give you a lot of, and you come to me for advice sometimes, and I tell you, don't do this song, take this song, this is how this will work. Does that help you, my interfering or advising or coming in?
Okay, so here's the thing. It depends on the topic. Like, for example, if it's music, I really like it when you give me an honest opinion. But sometimes it's just that, like, something that I feel is a bit bad has happened, and I just want at that moment to get, like, a fake advice, and then later for you to tell me that, I just said this to make you feel better. But yeah, so I just want you to say that at that moment, because then I feel a bit better inside sometimes. But otherwise, I like your honest opinion.
Okay, yeah, it's so nice you're saying that, because I know I'm terrible at that. Mom is really good at that, right? She'll
Yeah.
make you feel good about yourself, and I actually might probably make you feel bad about yourself in a moment where you want to feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But that's okay. It's your personality, and
No,
it's
but
a
I'm
very nice
learning.
way.
I'm learning from that. No, you're right. And I think your sister says the same thing. That, oh God, you just, and I think I come from the space where I want to strengthen you guys. I want
Yeah,
you guys. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable because I also see your point of view. But sometimes it's just like at a moment where, like, it's a moment where I want to hear something, but it's not, but I don't hear it. So sometimes it's a bit inconvenient, but most of the times I feel it's very convenient to get completely honest feedback.
Okay, so moving ahead, since we're having this very candid discussion, would you like me to soften it? Because I'm unfortunately I'm a more black and white kind of guy, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's come and bitten me in the butt many times, being a black and white kind of guy, and I'm also learning. But would you like me to soften it, or would you like me to be as honest and candid as I normally am? Because I'm
Okay,
confused.
So it depends, as I said, it depends. So if you feel like it's a place where I want to hear something specific, and like it's something that I'm feeling maybe bad about, like I've just had a fight and or someone's been teasing me, let's say, then I would like to hear something different at the time, but then I'd later like you to tell me the honest opinion.
Okay.
But it depends on the time. Whatever time you feel is the thing, because that's also a skill you should develop.
Okay, I totally get it, and I'm going to try hard to do that, right? Because I totally agree with you, and I'm going to try much harder. Now, tell me, for example, we're talking about you asked me what is the topic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll tell you what the topic is on
Okay.
air. The topic is, how do we protect you from failure? You've had your share of failure. We've seen you struggle with stuff. First, tell me the word failure.
Yeah.
What does it bring up? Like somebody says, Kahan, you are a failure. What do you associate with that word failure?
Okay, so if someone called me a failure,
Or you called yourself a failure?
yeah, if someone called me a failure, it would leave a deep crack. If I called myself, someone called me a failure, it would leave a deep crack inside.
All right. So if you were to do something, let's say there is a school play, and you wanted the lead singing part in that play.
Yeah.
Now, you might feel if I auditioned for it, I might be a failure. Let's just take this
Yeah.
situation. Would that stop you from auditioning for it?
No, because As you have told me, and as I also feel, you never know until you try. Like in the future, I know this as a fact. If this was an actual scenario and I didn't audition, I would regret it so much in the future, because if I tried it and I got it, I would have been a lead singer.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
great. So it would not, the fear of failure would not hold you back.
Yeah. And even if I did fail, it would just be like a way to learn that, okay, maybe these guys don't like me. Maybe that's a way I can improve, and that's okay. And I'll figure it out.
All right. So I'm so happy to hear that the fear of failure will not stop you. Now let's get to the other side of that discussion. So you auditioned and you were not selected. You feel like a failure, do you?
Sometimes I might feel like a failure. Like, at that moment, I might I might feel like I've tried my very best, and like maybe I'll think, oh my god, these people were so bad, but they got selected. So basically, what I'm trying to say, to simplify it, is if I didn't get it and I lost it to someone who was quite average at it, I would feel slightly like a failure at the moment where I hear about it. But after thinking about it, I wouldn't feel as much as a failure.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing you just said. If I lost it to someone who's average at it, I got that. That's from your perspective. What if from your perspective you lost it to someone who was really good as you felt you are? How would you feel then?
I would, if I lost it to them, I would most likely look at their performance and see if like what they're doing is different from what I'm doing, if there's something I could do. And I would feel a bit bad about it, but I take it as a way to get better at music, as an opportunity to learn to be better at it.
So would you be a gracious loser or would you be a sore loser?
Gracious.
You think you would?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
fantastic.
mean, at the moment, obviously, I'd be a sore loser, like, what the hell types. But after I think about it, I would feel like, no.
He deserved it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good. So
Yeah.
it's
If I saw
okay.
something that, like, I see why they chose him. If I saw something, then I think I would be, like, quite gracious.
All right, lovely. So, honestly, as a father, I'm saying this officially, that you try a lot of things, your attitude, and I personally believe that you take it very hard when you don't do well.
Yeah.
But you pick yourself up, and you've learned this over and over again with time, to pick yourself up, take the positives. You do so many things, like you have a YouTube channel called Phoenix
Not found 2426.
Phoenix Not Found 2426. We advised you so much on what you should do, why the name means nothing to us as your parents.
Yes, I'm actually kind of thinking of changing it.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, but like
Okay.
for the last time, because like I think I just want to go something like Just Kahan.
Okay, tell me now, is there any way I can make you look at the word failure more positively?
I think so, because if I can kind of get the thought that failure means that you failed at this, but it's an opportunity to get better, if I can hardwire that into my mind, then I think most definitely.
I love it. You just say such beautiful things. But
Yeah,
can you hardwire it in your mind? I mean, practically how? Okay, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is you've managed to successfully hardwire it into your mind. Where do you think you are on that scale of 1 to 10 right now?
I think I'd go with the 7 or 8.
Oh, wow.
Between
Okay.
6 or 8.
All right. I like that confidence. All right. So good. Because we are talking about how failure really affects, especially kids
Yeah.
today. And they tend to think their life is over.
Yeah, but then also there's one other thing you should look at, that there are some kids that just cannot care less.
So that's a great thing you just said, because, we as parents, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you heard us tell Tai, that's your sister Mishka, this, that it's okay if you don't do well,
Yeah.
but give it your 110%, be sincere about what you've done, Right? Do you take the same approach? Do you agree with that?
I do.
You do. So whatever you do, you would do, give it 100%. Would
Yes.
you rehearse? You've had astounding success too. For example, you won the all Mumbai dramatic competition, the Pearl Padamsi, this thing. So, and you had really practiced it, though you gave us dirty looks every time we made you practice it.
It got a bit annoying that you made me do it like 10 times every night.
But the results was directly linked to the effort you put in. Right? Now, had you failed that, by fail I mean not have won anything, not even first or runner up or what, you ultimately did come first, but if you got nothing.
Actually, I kind of prepare myself for situations like this. Like when I stood for class representative or for the social change ambassador, I was kind of like, that was a bad situation because I was kind of sure that I was gonna get it. But in other situations, I usually prepare myself to be like, no, it might not happen, and that's going to be okay because, it'll be our best. So I remember when I was sitting in the theatre for the Pearl Padamsi and they were announcing the winners, I was like, you know what? It's okay if you don't get it. You did your maximum best, and either ways everyone will still be proud of you. It's not like anything will change even if you lose.
Yeah, but you did win, so you couldn't really test yourself on that thought.
I know that, like, I was kind of like, no, it's not gonna be me. There were lots of people who were better than me. I have a feeling that it might not be me, so that's why I was kind of prepared for it.
Alright, so Khan, from you, as a father to you on this podcast, I think you're on the right track, and I do hope we as parents can help you keep that attitude going, because it's a winner attitude. You learn from failures. You don't be scared to attempt something because the reason is I might fail.
Yeah.
You fail, you pick yourself up and you look ahead.
Get back on the horse.
Yeah. Alright then, as with Mishka's podcast, I've kept Kahan's podcast exactly as is, because I think these are very genuine and insightful things that our kids are saying. Of course, there's a lot that is deemed to be practical but is actually only theory, because a lot of the answers do come as what should be the right thing to do and the right way to react vis-a-vis how we actually react to those situations. And we understand that as parents, because it's very tough. They're still learning and trying to understand how to deal and what to do, and that's okay. But as long as I truly feel that you have the right thought and the right intent, actions do change. It changes for us as adults. So how can a child be in full control of what their intent is and what they finally do? So that's okay. But it's so interesting, and I'm truly thankful for this podcast, because when I sit down with the kids and we discuss things in a more focused manner, because we are on the microphone and we're discussing it and we're sharing this with you, I'm actually learning so much more about them and what their thoughts are. And I have told them almost with a stick in my hand, be brutally honest and do not, say the correct things because that puts me in a good light, or vice versa. If you're angry with me, it's just go for it. Just put me in a bad light. It's fine. There's no stress. And I think they're doing commendably well with that. So right, I'm going to end this podcast and we're going to go into a third session on this podcast in the next podcast, where I will actually talk to my wife Aditi, and we'll discuss what we do as parents and how we deal with this, what we deem correct or the approach that we should do. And I'll give you a couple of tips that we use to ensure that our kids are prepped for failure, not success. Prepped for failure, because failure breeds success taken in the right attitude, and that's most important. Alright then, if you want to share your thoughts on any of the topics that we have been speaking about, please write in to me through my website chintubhosle.com, and do share your thoughts in an audio format so that I would love to put it on the podcast and share it with all of you so that we can understand your perspective too. And right, so that's it. Remember, if you think you are thoroughly confused and full of doubt with the things you are doing, especially with respect to your children, don't worry, you're not alone. Oh my God, what is happening? Our kids have got us balding. Are you in the dark? Need some light? Subscribe to Dad Musings.